Let's break down the Common Core State Standard shift in English language arts into its most basic components. Like everything related to Common Core, whether you are a student or a teacher, the more fluent you are in the basics, the easier it will be to handle the aspects that are more challenging. We'll be focusing on the second shift. Because there is overlap in the shifts, when we talk about shift number 2, we'll touch on elements of the other shifts as well. Before diving in, let's review a basic premise of the Common Core to help us organize our thinking around the English language arts shifts. One of the goals is to prepare students for difficult texts they will encounter in college and careers. The way to achieve that goal is for students to practice close reading and develop strategies for gaining knowledge from a complex text. With Common Core, students should be able to demonstrate what they've learned by citing evidence and examples from a text they've read. That's a shift, because in the past, students often have been assessed more on what they think about a reading, rather than their knowledge of the actual contents of the text. This new focus will help prepare students for the rigorous texts they will encounter in college while, say, studying a psychology textbook, or in a career when, for example, they need to read technical documents to understand a work system. With this comes a move to add more nonfiction readings, and the knowledge these texts provide, to their curriculum. Don't worry, fiction and poetry are not going away, though the way students approach these texts will shift. We'll talk about 3 areas where educators can support students in making the shift towards citing evidence from a text. These topics include text complexity, text-dependent questions, and scaffolding the student's reading experience when it comes to difficult vocabulary and sentence structure. While students should be challenged by reading material, it's important that texts are appropriate for grade level. You can think of it as a staircase, with text increasing complexity step by step, appropriate to grade level as you climb. In many cases, teachers will use packaged grade level appropriate student materials. At the same time, it's important to know how to assess a text for its complexity and reading level. You can measure text complexity through quantitative and qualitative methods. The quantitative approach, including tools you might be familiar with, such as Lexile and Flesch-Kincaid, looks at things like word and sentence length to determine complexity. There are online tools that can determine a text's quantitative complexity. But a text using simple language and short sentences can still contain difficult ideas that are above a student's reading level. This is where qualitative analysis of a text comes in. A qualitative analysis looks at the contents of a text to determine its complexity. There are rubrics that can help you look at the qualitative factors that determine complexity. To guide students in citing evidence from a text they've read, educators need to ask the kind of questions that stimulate that kind of thinking. Questions that can only be answered by providing evidence and examples from a reading are called text-dependent questions. You can use these types of questions in everything from classroom discussion to writing questions for exams. Becoming fluent in text-dependent questions is a key for supporting your student success under the Common Core. We are providing additional resources, examples, and a team activity to help you build your own fluency in this area. Students will be challenged by unfamiliar words and constructions they will encounter when reading complex texts. For educators, this means not just teaching a text, but also providing the necessary support students will need to read, discuss, and analyze a text. The idea is that all your students can read the same complex text, though some students will need more support than others. Once again, providing this scaffolding is critical for your students and relies in some cases on classroom strategies you've used in the past, and in other cases on strategies that might be new to you. What are the strategies that will work best with your students? A solid approach is to have a discussion with other teachers in your building and to share strategies and practices. We are providing a set of prompts to help you get the discussion started.